hidup dia melarat. Kesian. Last saya pergi rumah dia, saya tengok dia makan nasi dengan telur je. Nama dia besar. Orang tahu P.Ramlee siapa. Tapi hidup dia melarat.
Halo teman-teman semua, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa kabarnya nih teman-teman semua? Semoga sehat selalu ya. Dan kembali lagi bersama aku Rizky. Tentunya kali ini kita mau ngelanjutin requestan dari teman-teman semua. Jadi sudah hampir 80% ya karya film dari P.Ramlee ini udah aku tonton semua. Tentu saja nanti masih dalam proses editing, nanti akan diupload satu persatu, intinya di channel YouTube-nya Abang Ihsan ya teman-teman ya. Jadi untuk kali ini aku akan melanjutkan requestan dari teman-teman semua. Kemarin ada yang request untuk historicalnya. Jadi ini kalau di channelnya Abang Ihsan fokus untuk film-film P.Ramlee yang kita react. Kalau di channel aku ini kita akan sedikit mengupas lah bagaimana biografi, sejarah, terus pesan-pesan yang terkandung di dalam film-filmnya dari P.Ramlee ya teman-teman ya. Sekarang kita akan melihat bagaimana historical biografi dari P.Ramlee, tentu saja langsung aja kita nonton videonya ya.
At the height of his career in the 50s and 60s, P.Ramlee was hailed as Asia's Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplinnya Asia.
Dia bukan insan seni penyulap harta negara. Ia bekalkan pusaka lebih berharga, bermaruah bagi bangsanya.
Because to me, P.Ramlee is only my father. Tapi he belongs to everybody. Itu saja saya punya pegangan.
He acted in 66 films, directed 35 and wrote 33 of them, as well as having composed over 360 songs in his lifetime.
P.Ramlee punya filem sentiasa laku. Jam 100 tahun pun boleh laku.
Conquering every medium of the entertainment spectrum, P.Ramlee had an infinite charm, laced with a healthy dose of humor, warmth and humility that endeared him to many.
Iya.
But his phenomenal rise from stagehand to screen sensation had ill prepared him for the downward spiral to rejection and obscurity.
Dia sedih pasal dia datang di balik di my own country, dia kata people tak appreciate dia.
On the 29th of May 1973, legendary Malaysian screen icon P.Ramlee dies, broke and broken.
Apa salah dia? Itu kataan yang dia cakap. Dia tanya dia, adakah people will remember me? Kan dia tak boleh faham jiwa dia. Dia tak boleh buat apa waktu itu.
Semua akan selalu mengingat P.Ramlee.
His sudden death at age 44 is greeted with disbelief and shock around Malaysia, and throws the country into sadness and confusion.
Banyak orang nangis. India kutu mayang, kacang putih, Cina jual sayur. Saya tanya, kenapa lu nangis sampai ini macam? Ini orang banyak baiklah, dia banyak tolong saya. Kenapa dia mati? Kenapa Tuhan Allah ambil sama dia?
Orang baik meninggalnya.
Within hours, glowing tributes start to swamp the media.
Tidak ada di Asia dan saya rasa tidak ada di dunia pun yang saya kenal dalam dunia perfilman. Tidak ada tokoh seperti P.Ramlee ini.
Ya Allah.
But unwanted and unloved by his own people in the years up to his death, guilt begins to prick a nation's collective conscience.
Wah, inilah dia gambar yang dia nak sunting. Cakap iyalah betul, jangan.
His films and songs had grossed millions of dollars and swept more than 30 awards Asia-wide.
Ini kebiasaan lah ya. Masa seseorang tu masih hidup memang tidak dipedulikan. Memang apabila dia meninggal baru kita tahu, baru kita sedar bahawa apa yang dia buat tu meninggalkan sesuatu hal khazanah yang suka untuk kita menidakkan.
Mengapakah kau diciptakan Allah menjadi manusia?
With regret coming in large doses, there is a clamour for his songs and movies and frenzied calls to have him properly honoured and remembered. memorials, roads and buildings are named in his honor, and P.Ramlee is posthumously awarded the Malaysian honorific title Tan Sri, a knighthood in stature. But for a growing number of voices within the entertainment community, it is too little, too late.
Mungkin kalau dia masih hidup, dia dapat Tan Sri ni, saya banggalah, saya kata. Tapi sekarang saya tak rasa apalah. Cuma saya rasa sedih. Sesudahnya dia pergi, baru diagung-agungkan.
Ya Allah.
Masa dia hidup, tak ada orang pedulikan dia.
Ya Allah.
It's sad, but it's true. You want to be loved, you want to be famous, you have to die first.
Ya Allah.
Revered as the greatest Malaysian entertainer of the last century, P.Ramlee got his big break at the Shaw Studios on Jalan Ampas in Singapore in the 1940s.
Di sanalah ya bermulanya film-film P.Ramlee ya.
Known around Asia as the Warner Brothers of Malaysia, it was here that P.Ramlee started working as a stagehand.
Iya.
Within a few years, P.Ramlee was Shaw Studios' most successful movie maker, writing, directing and starring in a series of box office hits.
Ketika itu P.Ramlee punya nama betul-betul tengah menjulang tinggi. Orang datang cari dia tu tak berhenti-berhenti. Sampai saya bilang, Ram, tahun ini bukan lu cari duit. Duit datang cari lu.
At the height of his career, P.Ramlee was not only an idol of the entertainment scenes in Malaysia, but had a huge following overseas, most notably Singapore and Indonesia. He was also a popular figure amongst the Japanese film fraternity. And in a period where Hindi movies ruled the Malaysian box office, Ramlee's films rocked the status quo for the first time in decades.
Dia memang selalu dia nak meninggikan mutu kesenian bangsa kita lah. Dia selalu, umpamanya kalau nak buat filem pun dia selalu nak bikin filem yang bercorak macam kemelayuan. Kalaupun lagu pun gitu.
The man whose films, music and charisma inspired and touched the hearts of millions seemed untouchable. But Ramlee was more than just an actor. He was a man of vision. Knowing that colour films were the way forward, making his first screen movie in colour became an obsession for the next couple of years.
Jadi orang yang advance tau Macam 10-20 tahun dia boleh tahu.
In 1965, after completing his last successful film for the Shaw Studio, Singapore, Ramlee left to join Merdeka Film Studio in Kuala Lumpur. For the next 7 years, Ramlee made 18 films with Merdeka Studio, none of which had the box office success of his earlier films. Recording companies which had profited so much from his sweat and tears turned their backs on him.
P.Ramlee hanya ada kontrak di Singapura. Jadi saya pergi tanya Mrs. B untuk kontrak barulah. Mrs. B kata, tak boleh. P.Ramlee ni lagu tak laku.
But even worse, his efforts to recapture his former glory were often ridiculed and vilified by the public and media.
Oh, ya Allah.
Memang pada masa itu memang P.Ramlee teruk kena. Ya, apabila dia buat Nang Jahanam, lagi teruk dia kena. Pertelagahan P.Ramlee tu ada kan, dengan wartawan. Wartawan selalu kritik dia kan.
P.Ramlee's triumph and fame had once earned him an iconic status. In his final years, he tried desperately but failed to recapture his former glory. But in death, he became a timeless superstar. Born Tuku Zakaria Nyak Puteh in Penang Island on the 22nd of March 1929, P.Ramlee rose from humble beginnings. His father, Tuku Nyak Puteh, was an Indonesian sailor from Aceh who migrated to Malaya. He settled in Penang when he married Cik Mah Hussein, Ramlee's mother. The letter P in P.Ramlee stands for Puteh, his father's name. He used this name in a singing competition when he was 17 years old and emerged champion. Believing it brought him luck, he decided to keep it. Educated in Penang, P.Ramlee went to school as a teenager at the Penang Free School.
Saya kawan dengan yang kenal dengan dia masa darjah 1 sekolah lagi. Tapi sekolah lain, dia sekolah Melayu Kampung Jawa, Saya sekolah Melayu Perak Road.
His faithful friend Sukadi remembers going everywhere with the irrepressible Ramlee.
Kalau di Penang selalu kami berdua. Ronda sana, ronda sini. Basikal dia satu saja basikal, saya tak ada basikal. Naik dua.
Ya Allah. Ya Allah.
A cheeky, daredevil teen, Ramlee was always up to mischief wherever he went.
Jadi apa yang ada pokok jambu, pokok kedondong, pokok apa, kalau Ramlee sampai saja, tinggal daun. Putih-putih semua dia angkat.
Ya Allah.
Ramlee punya nakai masa kecil. Arwah miahan. Saya sayang sungguh dia.
Composer and musician Datuk Ahmad Nawab, who went to school with Ramlee, recalls seeing him in a scuffle.
Saya same school dengan dia, Francis Light School. Saya panggil dia budak keroncong. Saya selalu main bola itu. Saya tengok dia ada orang duk bergaduh tu. Bergaduh, saya pun pergi tengok, ramai orang keliling lah, macam tengok boxing kan. Saya tengok P.Ramlee ni bergaduh dengan satu orang Cina, tengah bertumbuk lah. Kalau tengok muka dia, ada kena pisau.
Astagfirullah.
Ada bekas pisau muka dia. Parut dia, tapi bila dia dah gemuk kan, dah tak apa nampak lah. Waktu dia kurus tu dia nampak.
But the wayward teenager's destiny was changed by a simple twist of fate. Ramlee was about 14 when the Japanese invaded and occupied Malaya from 1941 to 1945 during the Second World War. The Japanese left free movie tickets at post offices in the town centres to entice Malayan youths into their naval camps. It wasn't long before Ramlee and Sukadi got hold of those tickets. To their disappointment, it was a Japanese propaganda movie. But that wasn't the only surprise in store for the mischievous teens. At the end of the movie, they were forced into a waiting truck and ended up as instant recruits of a Japanese naval college. It was this stint at the college that taught P.Ramlee to speak fluent Japanese, play the violin, and later influence his disciplined work style.
Langsung berubah.
Malam-malam bila seminggu 2 kali mengistirai atau mengajar lah. Lepas graduate, saya pergi bahagian Jepun punya signal bendera lah. Dia pasal pandai drone, dia masuk bahagian torpedo.
Even while Japanese soldiers were committing atrocities outside their college walls, the two teenagers formed an attachment to the Japanese officers in the college who were good to them.
Dengan di luar-luar saja lah Jepun yang kejam tu, macam sekolah kami sana. Jepun surrender dengar semasa dalam training, malam lah kami dengar radio. Jadi kami masuk store, semua pedang-pedang Jepun saya dengan Ramlee ambil. Semua ni. Tapuk semua ni lah. Takut dia orang Jepun harakiri.
3 years after the end of the Second World War, P.Ramlee and Sukadi were spotted performing at an agricultural fair in Penang by B.S. Rajans, a director with the Shaw Studio. He invited both of them to audition as musicians at the studio and left them 2 train tickets to Singapore.
Okay, I see.
The two friends, who had never been out of Penang, decided to accept the invitation and try their hand at show business. They set off for Singapore on the morning of the Eid Muslim festival that marks the end of the fasting month. P.Ramlee remembered the excitement of celebrating Eid on a train for the first time.
Saya masih teringat pada 8 hari bulan Ogos tahun 48, itu hari yang mula-mula saya keluar dari Pulau Pinang menuju ke Singapura untuk bermain filem. Adalah hari raya yang pertama. Dan pada hari itu saya merayakan hari raya Idul Fitri di dalam kereta api.
Ya Allah.
Jadi saya dapat melihat banyak negara, banyak negeri berhari raya. Dari Pulau Pinang terus ke Singapura.
Dulu kereta api pun tak tahu bangsa asapnya, pakai arangnya. Muka dia hitam-hitam, cuci muka. Dia pergi take kelas. Jadi kami turun-turun, cuci muka semua, barulah makan.
But with little money, the two young hopefuls were living on excitement and adrenaline, not luxuries, as Sukadi vividly remembers about their accommodation.
Bukan bilik tempat tidur, bilik store. So, selang 2 hari kami pun pergilah screen test.
Action!
A week after their auditions, Sukadi, who was unsuccessful, returned home to
Oh
Penang.
ya Allah gitu.
But Ramlee, who was still hopeful of an acting offer, settled for odd jobs as clapperboy, stagehand, and later as playback singer. Ramlee's patience finally paid off when at age 19 he was given his first screen debut in a supporting role as the villain in the film Cinta. Ramlee's screen impact was so impressive that after Bhakti, Krishnan went on to cast Ramlee as the lead in 3 other films. Their immediate success made P.Ramlee a hot property.
He was a good actor. He can't even dance. So I told him, don't worry, I'll keep only up till here. You just walk. Walk to rhythm.
Following his first screen test, Ramlee befriended comedian Dying Harris, who had helped him in his early years. Ramlee soon fell for Harris' daughter, Junaina, but Harris wanted Ramlee to marry his older daughter, Junaida, a divorcee. Ramlee, who hated confrontations, took the path of least resistance. In early 1950, he married Junaida. His only biological son, Nasir, was born 3 years later. That same year, Ramlee won Radio Malay's Best Male Singer Award with his song Aziza, making him a sought-after actor and singer. Aziza, composed before he became an actor, soon topped the charts and stayed there for over 4 weeks. Ramlee rode on the song's massive popularity, with every woman wanting to be Aziza. But the constant attention from his legion of female fans took a toll on their marriage. The next year, Junaida decided she had had enough and left him, leaving Nasir in P.Ramlee's care. Despite juggling a rapidly advancing career and looking after Nasir, P.Ramlee always found time for other people, as composer Kasim Masdur, a studio messenger boy at the time, remembers.
Tiap-tiap pagi saya mesti kejutkan P.Ramlee. Ketika dia mandi, favorite singer dia Nat King Cole. Saya kena main tu yang gramophone yang pakai spring, pakai kunci Yang banyak membimbing saya dalam muzik ni ialah Allahyarham Tan Sri P.Ramlee. Dialah yang mengajar saya bagaimana nak tulis lagu dan bagaimana nak membaca not. Lama-kelamaan dia suruh saya tulis lagu yang dicipta. Dia lantik saya sebagai penolong pengarah muzik dia.
To composer Ahmad Nawab, P.Ramlee's extraordinary gift for music more than made up for his lack of formal musical training.
Saya tengok dia pandainya, dia boleh baca note without playing instrument. He can sing. Sekiranya lagu saya dinyanyi oleh P.Ramlee, I can say that barulah saya percaya diri saya komposer.
Not long after his divorce from Junaida, P.Ramlee was back on the dating scene. Beauty queen Mariani Ismail, who was Miss Singapore 1951, caught his eye.
Kami selalu dating lah. Bila tak syuting aja, dia akan jumpa saya. Bila dah jatuh cinta, dia bilang saya nak kahwin sama you, dia bilang. Tapi saya tak mau you berlakon. You nak nyanyi boleh. Saya ajar you nyanyi.
P.Ramlee had found the new love of his life. But by forbidding Mariani to become an actress, Ramlee had unwittingly set the stage for his own heartbreak. Mariani was being seriously courted by the Shaw Studios, and someone else had a very special place in her heart. After his divorce from first wife Junaida, P.Ramlee was convinced he had found love again with ex-Singapore beauty queen Mariani. But he didn't want his future wife to be an actress. P.Ramlee was unaware that Mariani was being hotly pursued by film studios, including Shaw Studio, for a film career. And while Ramlee was important to Mariani, she was not prepared to hurt her sister, Saloma, who on her return from Australia had fallen hard for P.Ramlee.
Ternyata ini Mariani dan Saloma.
Satu malam tu Ramlee datang ambil saya pergi makan, ajak pergi makan. Ramlee dia very romantic. Orangnya suka peluk. Saya tengok Saloma tengok macam terlalu admire.
Mariani could not bear to watch her sister's infatuation. So she decided to sacrifice her own relationship and find a way to steer P.Ramlee into Saloma's arms.
Adik aku tak boleh cari, suami aku boleh cari. Macam mana nak marahkan si P.Ramlee ni kan? Teringat yang dia tak kasih berlakon. Kebetulan jalan nampas tengah sibuk kat saya.
Oh ya Allah.
Saya kejam mata sign kontrak 5 tahun. Saya pergi rumah Ramlee. Saya cakap Remy, saya panggil dia Remy. Dia panggil saya Mary. Saya cakap Remy, I dah sign kontrak tau. I nak jadi bintang filem. Peruh mata dia sepet, telinga dia merah. Oh, mau jadi bintang filem ya, dia kata.
Mariani was baffled at P.Ramlee's lack of reaction, but she soon found out why.
Ya Allah.
Dia pergi kat Mr. Quack. Itu baru punya bintang filem Mariam. Dia sign kontrak semalam kan. You jangan kasih masuk dia saya punya set. Dan saya tak mau berlakon sama dia. You jangan suggest saya berlakon dengan dia. Terus Mr. Quack jumpa saya. Mariam, itu you punya nama sudah tukar ya, Mariani. Itu P.Ramlee tak mau berlakon sama you. Dia tak kasih you jangan pergi masuk set dia tau. Nanti dia terus tak mau syuting, dia mogok nanti. Baiklah. Terus tak tegur lah. Selama 7 tahun.
Ya Allah.
Ramlee's popularity as a charismatic actor and singer rose with each movie. Ramlee gained a reputation as a bit of a ladies' man. In 1954, 6 years after he started working with Shaw as a stagehand, P.Ramlee was performing before the Sultan and Queen of Perak, North Malaysia. Pleased with the show, the Sultan asked Norizan Muhammad Noor, one of his wives, to catch the show on the second night. Norizan confided in academic Professor Dr. Wan Hashim that the Sultan's orders came with a warning.
Tapi dia beri amaran. Norizan, kamu jangan pandang matanya. Kerana mata P.Ramlee itu magnetik, katanya. Ada besi berani. Takut jatuh cinta. Norizan pada waktu itu memang tidak begitu berminat dengan P.Ramlee. Tapi oleh kerana seperti arahan suaminya, dia pergi menonton.
Oh ya Allah.
When Ramlee was introduced to Norizan, there was instant chemistry between them.
Oh ya Allah.
Permaisuri berkenalan, terus jatuh cinta kepada P.Ramlee.
Ya Allah.
Norizan became one of P.Ramlee's biggest fans. Although the distance between Singapore and Perak kept them physically apart, it did not stop them from communicating over the telephone. But P.Ramlee kept his distance, respecting Norizan's status as the Sultan's consul.
Ya.
Dan suatu percintaan yang cukup sukar, bersembunyi, dan saya diberitahu oleh Norizan bagaimana tuanku mula tahu perhubungan mereka itu ialah kerana bil telefon itu tiba-tiba melonjak naik.
Ya Allah.
Di luar kebiasaan. Di luar kebiasaan ini ada sesuatu.
Iya.
Their relationship continued to blossom. However, Ramlee was apprehensive about the huge potential for conflict in getting involved with someone of Norizan's status. But it never materialized.
Tak ada gaduh-gaduh, tak ada apa. Sebabnya apa yang Norizan bagi tahu sama saya, memang Sultan pun sayang dengan P.Ramlee.
Ya Allah.
P.Ramlee and Norizan were married on February the 6th, 1955. And Ramlee voluntarily stayed away from Perak until the Sultan's demise in 1962.
Oh ya Allah.
News of Ramlee's marriage to Norizan came as a big blow to Mariani, his former love.
Iya.
She had broken up with him in order to matchmake him with her sister Saloma.
Iya.
Terkejut saya. Aku dah berkorban gini, dia pergi kahwin dengan Norizan. Aku tak dikahwin dengan Saloma. Bila dikahwin dengan Norizan, Saloma merajuk lagi. Dia pergi Melbourne pula. Dia menyanyi lagi, jauh lagi. Bawa diri.
Oh ya Allah.
Marriage to Norizan coincided with an exciting phase in P.Ramlee's professional life. In 1956, P.Ramlee played the title role in the historical film Hang Tuah and wrote the music. He won the award for Best Musical Score at the Asia Pacific Film Festival. It was the first international award for Ramlee and Shaw, and Ramlee dedicated one of the film's most popular songs to his new wife, Norizan.
masuk dulu ke istana, kemudian jumpa dia dan kena tinggal kat istana dan kemudian kena membawa segala tidak sebanyak lah ke. Jadi kena berkorban kerana Ramlee. Itu dia kata Nurhizan, I nak karang satu lagu dulu, dia kata berkorban apa saja harta atau nyawa tu maknanya kerana intinya berbahaya jugalah kerana sebagai daripada bantu Rasulullah.
With Nurhizan, P.Ramlee's appearance and lifestyle underwent a complete change. She wanted the palace decorum she was used to observed in the family home. Nasir, his son with his previous wife, 8 years old at the time, remembers life with Nurhizan and his new adopted and step siblings.
Bapa saya makan kami kena disappear. Tak dengar suara pun.
Oh, ya Allah.
Tunggu Nurhizan panggil. Caci, dia panggil Caci. Caci, Norma, Betty, Sazali turun.
Sazali.
Baru kami turun. Bilik 4 bilik, tiap-tiap minggu bertukar. Bapa saya selalu masuk salah bilik.
But it was during his marriage to Nurhizan that P.Ramlee, the entertainer, was at his most prolific. Some say she was the muse for many of his greatest works. In 1955, 26-year-old P.Ramlee wrote and acted in his directorial debut Penarik Beca, one of the most memorable films in the history of Malay cinema. It catapulted him into the ranks of more established directors. In 1957, P.Ramlee walked away with a Best Actor award at the Tokyo 4th Asian Film Festival. This time for his unforgettable performance in Tearjerker Anakku Sazali, where he played dual roles of a loving father and a rebellious son. But Ramlee's career was just beginning, and his critical and box office successes held out the promise of further cinematic brilliance.
Ya Allah, ya Allah, ya Allah.
P.Ramlee continued to enjoy spectacular success with each consecutive film he was involved in. Everything he touched seemed to turn to gold, but the stunning pace of his professional life left him very little time for his family. Nurhizan began to feel neglected. It was not the life she had envisaged when she gave up the palace for P.Ramlee. Despite the backstabbing, Ramlee once more stepped into new cinematic territory, writing and acting in his first comedic film. Bujang Lapok was a film about 3 bumbling but good-hearted bachelors who were always on the lookout for love. Aimi Jah overheard Ramlee telling friends about his new comedy.
Jadi cara dia bercerita tu terasa macam dah tengok wayang. Kerana P.Ramlee bila bercerita dengan gerak mata, dengan gerak tangan, dengan nada suaranya, sampai ke shot-shot semua dia bercerita.
Ramlee knew he needed people who were naturally funny to co-star in his first comedy outing. So he picked and indulged comedians Aziz Sattar and S. Shamsuddin to provide rare gems of comic improvisation.
Masya Allah, bagus. Paling seneng ngeliat 3 orang.
Kau suka tingkau lebih, kau buat kau punya suka sendiri. Saya pun dah takut bila dia cakap itu, alamak ni dia dah marah. Jadi dia tengok tu, cuba rasa sekali.
Mirip sama mudanya.
Sekali, belum lagi. Sekali. Jadi apa yang dia nak tu tadi, itu yang terkucil tadi, tu boleh.
While P.Ramlee's career kept soaring, things at home were deteriorating.
Iya, pasti.
Nurhizan's discontentment with her own marriage made her sensitive to Ramlee's working relationships, especially with his female co-stars. So when news reached home of Ramlee and former love Mariani rehearsing songs together at the studio, Nurhizan flew into a rage. Nasir, who was 8 at the time and living with P.Ramlee and Nurhizan, remembered that day.
Nurhizan ajak Jadi dia ikut mami pergi rumah Mariani. Kami ada kereta Nurhizan turun. Mar.
Ya Allah.
P.Ramlee had no idea that the former and current love of his life were about to confront each other for the first time.
Tahu-tahu ada orang badan besar, dekat pinggang, tampar saya.
Ya Allah.
Saya cakar dia balik. Lepas saya bilang, you trespassing. Get up from my house.
Cantiknya.
Mariani reported the matter to the police. Eventually, Nurhizan apologized in court. Mariani accepted, and the matter was quickly forgotten. But not by Saloma, who had just returned from her stint in Australia. she went after Norizan.
Dekat studio lah. Saloma sudah datang, birang lah. Oh, dia cakap putih lah. You slap my sister lah, never mind. But one day I take your husband.
Dan beneran
Saloma, by then an accomplished and popular singer, started performing at stage shows with P.Ramlee.
Oh, ya Allah.
And not long after, she was auditioning and acting in P.Ramlee's movies.
Ya Allah.
Norizan, desperate to save her marriage, was driven to check up on her husband with the young Nasir in tow.
Pergi spot check, tapi P.Ramlee punya spy lagi terror. Bos datang bos. Oh, P.Ramlee marah apa? Saloma, you acting apa ni cik? Ya, ni betul tak? You acting apa? Benar-benar tengok.
Ya Allah.
By 1960, the cracks in their marriage had deepened. Nasir remembered things getting stormy at home.
Dia orang kalau bergaduh lebih dahsyat tau ni. Tumbuk, keris-keris semua. Norizan dengan P.Ramlee. Dia bergaduh kami diam. Kami tengok P.Ramlee angkat. Clean depan. Pengsan.
The marriage was in serious trouble.
Yeah.
Rumors of Norizan's friendship with a younger actor and Ramlee's dalliances with his co-stars pushed the relationship to its limit. And after 6 years together, P.Ramlee and Norizan divorced.
Yeah. Ya Allah.
P.Ramlee himself never spoke of his troubled marriage to Norizan, who, unwilling to face her family, remained in Singapore after the divorce, before later moving to Kuala Lumpur.
Seniman berjawab.
Nak kahwin memang senang.
After an 8-year hiatus, Saloma was firmly back on the scene, this time making an impression on the twice-divorced, much idolized and newly available P.Ramlee. Nasir, who was 9 years old then, recalls Saloma coming to take him out one day. He did not take a liking to her and told his father so.
Nasir suka nanti tu. I diam lah. Apa saya pernah tulis 1000 kali tu. I must love my auntie. I must tulis.
Despite his son's resistance to Saloma, P.Ramlee was set on marrying her. He confided in close friend Musalma, swearing her to secrecy. Inspired by his newfound happiness with Saloma, P.Ramlee wrote, directed and acted in Ibu Mertuaku, one of his most highly acclaimed films. The film was not only a huge box office success, its theme songs surpassed the popularity of the film itself. Terrible at handling his own money, Ramlee asked Kwek to deal with his finances and trusted him implicitly.
Kadang-kadang saya masuk ke bank. Dia nak apa-apa saya keluarkan kasih sama dia. Ramlee, engkau kasih sama saya simpan ni duit kau tak hitung. Apa Mr. Kwek ni cakap macam budak-budak lah. Dia cakap amal kita itu macam, dia kata Mr. Kwek kalau mau pakai ambil, dia kata. Duit dia banyak lah, termakan tak habis. Itu je dia tak betul punya bini, tak tahu apa, saya tak tahu, teman-teman tanya dia.
According to Kwek, they worked crazy hours to complete Ramlee's films quickly because they were guaranteed hits.
Kalau saya tahu bukan main bagus lagi dia main gambar, duit masuk bukan main banyak, engkau tak ada. Habis kalau dia nak apa sikit lebih kurang kau tak boleh kasih. Tak boleh lah. Saya kalau tak kasih sama dia, saya rasa...
Continued success with his comedic films culminated in P.Ramlee winning his next and last international award for the film entitled Madu Tiga. In 1963, Shaw offered P.Ramlee the chance to direct his first color film entitled Senewati in Hong Kong. He was also to direct his 5th sequel of the renowned Bujang Lapok comedic series there. P.Ramlee was ecstatic, but the excitement was short-lived. Without telling Ramlee, the powerful union demanded higher payments and allowances for Ramlee and his co-stars, forcing Shaw to cancel the production of both films. Ramlee was bitterly disappointed. It was a time when Singapore was facing heightened left-wing radical trade union activities, and strikes at the Shaw studios were attracting the state's attention.
Bila Perdana Menteri Liqwyd dapat tahu buat union ni, jadi dia tak suka Melayu-Melayu ni buat union. So dia bilang dengan Shaw Brothers, you better close down. So show brother kata dia, you better go to Merdeka Film.
Disillusioned, P.Ramlee moved to Merdeka Studio in 1964 after directing his last film, Tiga Abdul. He skipped the film's preview and saw it during its Kuala Lumpur run in the cinemas. Shaw studio manager Kwek Chip Jian had his own theory as to why P.Ramlee left the Shaw studio in Singapore.
Kita biar orang tak suruh dia pergi, dia tidak pergi sebenarnya. Engkau tahu itu yang panggil sama dia siapa? Itu Tauke panggil dia sana. KTP punya orang tu. Nama dia Ho Alok. Dia cakap sama P.Ramlee, apa kau nak? What do you think of that? Apa kau nak?
Dia begini, dekat Kuala Lumpur ni, peralatan studio, barangnya tak cukup. Barangnya barang lama. Barang yang tak habis, yang Singapura dah tak boleh pakai, baru dibawa Kuala Lumpur. Macam kamera, lighting, apa. Kedua, orang belum mahir. Macam di Singapura, orang dah mahir. Semua dah 10 tahun kerja. Kat sini semua orang baru.
P.Ramlee had thrived under the system at Shaw Studio. Backed by a highly experienced production team, he could concentrate wholly on the creative aspects of his work. But the state of things at Merdeka Studio was very different. Tucked away beside a zoo with outdated equipment and inexperienced production staff, Ramlee joked with friends that he was working in a zoo and was about to be eaten alive by a tiger. Ironically, Sitora Harimau Jadian, or Sitora the Were-Tiger, became the title of his first movie at Merdeka Studio. He tried dabbling in special effects, but with a small budget and poor support services, he had to multitask, even doing his own editing. The film came out technically inferior.
Ya Allah.
At the film's preview in Singapore, attended by actors Ahmad Daud and Sadia, the Shaw brothers walked out after only 15 minutes.
Ya.
Kita sendiri tengok introduction dengan jerk, editing jerk. Kejap dia buat diri jadi Frankenstein.
Ramlee would never again replicate the spectacular success he achieved at the Shaw Studio.
Dia orang janji macam-macam, nak kasih dia buat colour film, nak buat canggih-canggih lah, cinemascope. Tapi bila dia sampai sini, tak ditepatkan janji, dia dah kecewa.
Ya Allah.
Jadi dia punya creation bila bikin filem dah tak gairah macam di Jalan Nampas.
Ya Allah.
The advent of television, Hollywood, Hong Kong and colour Hindi films sounded the death knell of P.Ramlee's attempt to reinvent himself.
Ya Allah. Ya Allah.
P.Ramlee directed and acted in 18 more films for Merdeka Studio until 1970, including the popular Do Re Mi
Nah, ini
trilogy.
Do Re Mi nih, trilogi.
The comedic series was meant to recreate his popular Bujang Lapok characters, but it failed to capture their innocence and lovable ineptitude.
Ya Allah.
Laxmana Do Re Mi was the last film P.Ramlee directed for Merdeka Studio.
Ya Allah.
In 1968, Ramlee's longtime recording company, EMI, decided not to renew his contract when it ended. It was a big shock to P.Ramlee.
Dewan kata dia, I don't think, saya tak ingat EMI want to do your recording sebab you punya lagu dah tak laku lagi dah. And then you punya voice pun orang tak terima. So waktu tu saya tengok muka dia merah dah. I feel so upset tengok P.Ramlee make so much money for EMI. Then dia boleh cakap begitu.
P.Ramlee swore he would never again work with EMI under any circumstances. It was the ingratitude that stung him more than the rejection. Ramlee concentrated on his films, doing everything he could to reach out to his audience. He introduced significant changes to his themes and portrayed multiracial settings in Sesudah Subuh and Gerimis, but the audience was not moved. Then he tried a Hitchcock-style thriller in Dr. Rushdie and even a raunchy theme in Gelora, but the audience was too besotted with foreign movies to notice. Rejected for his singing, acting and directing, Ramlee's humiliation was complete. With one fell swoop, his status had changed from idol to fallen star.
Ya Allah.
Bila show Wingok tunjuk pada P.Ramlee surat tu, kontrak P.Ramlee tidak boleh disambung lagi. Sign oleh Jaafar Abdullah.
Jaafar Abdullah, a Shaw Organization executive, also said in the letter that P.Ramlee was a has-been and his movies were no longer selling. Hardly any acting, directing, composing or singing jobs offered to him.
Ya
He was
Allah.
desperate to find the means to support his family.
Ya Allah.
P.Ramlee sang at weddings with Saloma, acted as compere for stage shows and became a judge for acting competitions to make ends meet. But Ramlee was in for another disappointment.
Bila bangunan itu dah siap, hari pertama, P.Ramlee dengan Camcah diberhentikan, dikeluarkan daripada Perfima.
The majority of Perfima decided that its first colour film project would not be directed by P.Ramlee, but a younger director,
Ya.
Jin Shamsuddin,
Ya Allah.
who had just completed a film course in London.
Ya Allah, ya Allah.
Ramlee felt totally dejected and defeated.
Ya
Mana Perfima jadi? Kalau kita ada dalam tu, insyaAllah jadi. Pasal kita ada pengalaman, ada duit. Macam diorang tak ada apa. Pengalaman aja. Pengalaman tak ada duit, tak jadi.
Ya Allah.
P.Ramlee was at the lowest point in his career. Putting food on the table for his family was a daily struggle. He was forced to do whatever he could to earn a living.
Oh ya Allah. Gimana nggak meninggalnya?
Pasal masa
dia?
tu dia sudah buat kedai, warung untuk main mahjong. So he is living on the pendapatan the mahjong, table money. So makin lama makin turun.
Ya Allah.
Ramlee was embarrassed when his childhood friend Sukadi found him at the mahjong stall. He tried to hide his embarrassment by showing his annoyance with Sukadi.
Saya marah dekat dia, tegur juga dekat dia. Jadi dia pun marah juga dekat saya lah pasal saya tak duduk sebelah dia. Dia kalau kita jumpa kena duduk dia, dakap dia. Cerita dalam setengah jam, lari tak apa. Ni pasal saya nak pergi meeting dengan uniform pula, mana boleh duduk kedai macam.
To help his boss, his longtime personal assistant Ramlee Jr. approached a small recording company.
Fu Cekuan tulis cek 1,000 bagi P.Ramlee. Buat 4 lagu.
Ramlee wrote the songs and Saloma's sister Mimi Loma recorded them as Saloma was still contracted to EMI. But P.Ramlee was eager to produce his first colour film and tried to obtain a bank loan to finance it. But he was rejected at every turn.
Ya Allah.
Habis semua apa dia buat, dia pergi minta bantuan semua tak dapat tau. Padahal working paper dia very good tau. Bank tak percaya. Dia dengar pasal, yelah P.Ramlee tu jam dah jatuh, siapa nak percaya lagi, siapa nak bagi duit kan buat. Dia dah no good already.
Semua orang boleh tolong dia. Banyak orang boleh tolong dia. Kerajaan boleh tolong dia. Dia biasa menghadap ini orang, semua kira macam tepis.
Ya Allah.
And even the TV and radio stations had nothing to offer him.
Hidup dia melarat, kesian. Last saya pergi rumah dia, saya tengok dia makan nasi dengan telur je. Nama dia besar. Orang tahu P.Ramlee siapa. Tapi hidup dia melarat.
But Ramlee was not one to wallow in self-pity, especially in the company of friends. He didn't bear grudges.
P.Ramlee ni saya tahu dia nombor satu, dia tak pernah condemn ini pelakon-pelakon lain. Ini tak pernah cerita pelakon-pelakon lain iri hati semua, tak ada. Dia suka happy ya. And then he like to cerita yang lucu-lucu lah.
Ramlee's friends say they could sit all night having coffee with him at the food stalls, enjoying his self-deprecating humour and stories about his life. But they all agree on P.Ramlee's one exasperating trait. He couldn't say no to anyone asking for help. It became his own undoing.
Kalau dia ada duit, katakan duit tu ada 200 kat dalam kocik. Satu hari orang datang. Orang kata, "Bang, saya susah ni nak balik kampung. Mak saya sakit, tak ada duit." Iyakah? Semua dia kasih. 200 tu dia kasih. Selalu tercegak. Saloma cakap, saya ada hari tu. Saloma cakap, Daddy, kenapa Daddy kasih semua? Kan ini hari Minggu, mana ada bank? Dulu mana ada ATM kan? Tak apa, itu rezeki dia. Saya tak apa.
Allah Yaram ni, dia tak boleh tengok orang susah. Orang putak belit dengan dia. Terma, siapa tak boleh pukul dia.
He was also generous in his professional life. Even when he was already a big name, he willingly shared top billing with his co-stars, often reviving other people's flagging careers. It was actress Sarima, who was discovered and nurtured by Ramlee 10 years earlier, that still believed in his talents and asked him to direct her new film.
Sehari sebelum dia meninggal tu, saya, arwah suami saya, kita ada dekat Shah Motel. Dan memang nak tawar dia, saya dah lupa apa tajuknya cerita tu, dan memang dia setuju.
The offer from Sarima and her husband filled P.Ramlee with a new optimism. But P.Ramlee was never again to set foot on a film set. Before dawn on the 29th of May 1973, P.Ramlee had a heart attack at home. Saloma accompanied him in the ambulance to the Kuala Lumpur hospital. Their son, Sazali, waited at home with the younger children. A few hours later, Sazali received the dreaded call from Saloma. He refused to believe her at first.
Betul, Mama dah suruh doktor dah 3 kali pam dah, dia punya dada dah. Doktor cakap meninggal. Habis kita pun dapat tahu, orang gaji dengan adik-adik menangis lah.
Sazali, who was 15 then, recalls his father's last words to him just before the heart attack.
Jaga Mama baik-baik. Dia kata, jaga adik-adik elok. Jangan tinggal Mama, apa sekalipun terjadi. Kalau kecuali Mama dah tak ada lagi, kau nak pergi, pergilah. Tapi pergi dengan cara baik.
P.Ramlee, a great man and a true genius, had died far before his time. He was the original hero of the Malay film world, his brilliance and kindness an inspiration to many. The news of P.Ramlee's death at the age of 44 was met with disbelief. When Saloma died almost 10 years after P.Ramlee, Mariani kept her promise to her sister. She made sure they were together, side by side, in their final resting place.
Tiba-tiba dia bersuara kat saya, Hajiz, kalau gua mati, gua akan hidup 1000 tahun lagi, Hajiz.
The sudden death of P.Ramlee, the greatest star of the Malay entertainment world at the age of 44, came as a complete shock to Malaysians. For close friends, his death had only just begun to sink in. Hundreds of people thronged the house, mosque and burial grounds to pay their last respects to P.Ramlee. On the 29th of May 1973, in the burial grounds in Kuala Lumpur, the world said goodbye to P.Ramlee for the last time.
Banyak yang kita boleh pelajari daripada karya-karya beliau, dan kenapa dia masih boleh ada entertainment value yang sangat tinggi. Segi-segi dialog dia yang tidak pernah waste. Tak pernah wasted, kita pasti dengar, ingat, segar dengan kita.
Without P.Ramlee, Malaysia would be very different, I think. He set very high standards for all of us. Can your song be as good as a P.Ramlee song? Can your movie be as good as a P.Ramlee movie?
Decades later, there is still no substitute for Malaysia's charismatic genius.
Semua dia bikin sendiri. Bikin skrip, mengarah, berlakon, cipta lagu, editing. Saya tak fikir kita dapat lagi satu P.Ramlee lah.
Memang tak ada orang tolak banding, tak ada orang boleh ganti tempat dia. Tak ada orang boleh ganti tempat dia.
Oh ya Allah. Itu tadi ya teman-teman ya. Oh ya Allah. Itu tadi historical kehidupan dari Tan Sri P.Ramlee almarhum tentu saja. Ya Allah. luar biasa memang ya. Hampir semua filmnya akan selalu dikenang sampai sekarang. Ternyata seperti itu, historical biografi dari kehidupan Tan Sri P.Ramlee almarhum. Alur kehidupan dari Tan Sri P.Ramlee yang gak jauh beda dengan film-filmnya, ternyata terinspirasi dari kehidupannya juga ya teman-teman ya. Ada cerita sedih dan senang dalam kehidupan Tan Sri P.Ramlee tentu saja ya. Dari masa kecilnya yang seperti itu ternyata berubah menjadi sosok yang sangat luar biasa hebat. Tapi di akhir kehidupannya sampai tadi Dato Aziz Satar pun bercerita bahwa P.Ramlee hampir tidak punya apa-apa gitu kan. Itu tadi teman-teman ya, kita kirimkan sejenak Al-Fatihah untuk beliau mengenang almarhum tentu saja. Al-Fatihah. Demikian video kita kali ini. Aku akhiri dulu. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.